the very exciting conclusion to the Concerto de Québec by Mathieu. Alain Lefevre was at the piano, and he was joined by the Quebec Symphony Orchestra under Yoav Talmy. And Alain Lefevre, his playing has been called spectacular, smashing, sparkling. He's been praised for his phenomenal technique and his deep sensitivity. He's a multi-award winner. He is pianist and composer and also a radio host. Alain Lefevre is in Winnipeg to perform with the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra, to perform Rachmaninoff's Fourth Symphony, and he joins me in our Classic 107 studio. Welcome.
Thank you very much. It's such a great joy to see classical music living in this radio station. I'm very impressed. This for me means a lot.
Well, I'm interested that you're also a host of a classical music show. What kind of program do you do?
You know, the radio show at CBC was supposed to be a year and 2 years experience, and finally it had quite a modest success, and it's going to be the 11th year. So it's every Sunday across the country, and even on internet for the world, and it's it's 2 hours, and basically it is not about trying to explain classical music or trying to convince, as it is to present to the public the greatest version of the greatest masterpiece, and I believe that in 2016 it's so important to bring to the younger generation classical music. It is, how could I say, it is, my English is not good as I would love, but
it's wonderful.
It is a shame in our society that it's becoming so difficult for government, who they are, to convince them that classical music is not a luxury, but it's something that you should at least propose to the kids, and then after they will decide by themselves. But as we are talking, you and me today, the proposition is not done anymore. So my modest battle is to say to who listen to me, listen, we have a duty, and the duty is at least to propose to the younger generation. After what they will decide is not important, but the proposition is the first step of strong democracy.
Yeah, that's right. So just to introduce people to the music.
Exactly.
Now, you were born in France,
yes.
But you've grown up in Canada.
Of course.
But you did go back to France for some of your studies.
Yes.
What took you back there? Why did you want to go to Paris?
It could be, I could give you a very romantic reason. It was a financial situation. I had two choices. Either I wanted to go to New York to Juilliard School, but Juilliard School, you're a good or a bad pianist, it's at least, at the time, it was at least $25,000 a year. And it's much more expensive now. And in France, at the Conservatoire de Paris, there was first this fantastic piano teacher, Pierre Sancan. And of course, there was 800 people who did the competition to have 2 places of being a student. So I was awarded to have 4 years of free study in France.
It's fantastic. Okay. Now, as a performer, you perform the gamut: Bach and Rameau, Mozart, Chopin, Rachmaninoff, contemporary music, as we've already heard. Is there a certain style that appeals to you more than another?
No. This sometime. Of course, I did a lot of Rachmaninoff, and I championed Mathieu. That is a very romantic composer, a genius, a Canadian genius. But I believe that, it would be very reductive for me to say that I'm in one other aspect. Lately I did a recording with La Valse de Ravel, with Rachmaninoff Piano Sonata and a Haydn Sonata. So I don't say I'm good in those. That's not what I say, but I love to play any style of classical music.
All right. Well, as a performer, people talk about how you break the mold and that your performances are original or unexpected. What does that mean? How do you approach your interpretations?
I believe that in the classical world, we have to take a large part of responsibility of what happened. I think for the last 40 years, the music world have been run as a business. they thought that you could take, a young pianist or a young violinist or a young conductor and push them and make them stars like you do in the pop industry. And, make them sexy, make them appealing. And this is very, very, very bad. It's not the right road. You wouldn't have asked Glenn Gould to be sexy. You wouldn't have asked Gilels to be, classical music is something that need to, need to be very interior. When you listen to Rudolf Kempe recording, Knappersbusch, you do realize that those artists at the time were not making a career. They were making music. Today, the young generation, they want to make career. And now you see a lot of those young, and I love them. But it is not the right path. So, the public is not so stupid. Public knows when an artist is on stage and deliver a kind of, in brackets, spiritual statement of music, there's something happening. When Callas was on stage, you knew that there was something, say it near God.
Yeah.
There was something special. So I don't know what I do wrong or I do good. I would never say something, but I know that for me, my main goal is not to make a career, as to make music a link between this life that is so difficult and the angels and something else. It sounds
Right.
maybe stupid, but it's my view.
All right. Well, we heard you play music by Mathieu, and you are a champion of contemporary music, Canadian composers, and you're a big champion of Mathieu.
Yes.
A composer not all that well known throughout the country. What is it about his music that draws you?
Oh, my answer will not be politically correct. It's about Mathieu, but it's about my country, Canada. I believe that we have to start to be proud to be Canadian. And we have to stop, always thinking that because it's coming from abroad, it's better. And in classical music especially, it's the situation of Canadian composer, it's dramatic. And Mathieu is a true genius. And, when I did start to play Mathieu, people were saying to me, is it true that he's good and blah, blah. As I'm talking to you, we should never forget that the Olympic Games, the gold medal of skating, choose Mathieu music to perform and I've played Mathieu all over the world, in Berlin, in Shanghai, in London, in Paris. We sold with Analecta over 80,000 copies of Mathieu. And today, I promise you, I have a scoop, the Concerto of Quebec that I've discovered at the time I did was finally a concerto that was made for the movie. That was the first French movie of Canada. And we have discovered with George Nicholson, the historian, all the score. And finally, the concerto will be world premiere in Buffalo with Joan Falletta. Then I will probably record that in Poland. And the concerto will be probably named Concerto Symphonique. And it is probably one of the most fantastic Canadian composer masterpiece. And my goal is when I go to Russia or to Poland, young guys are proud to have Chopin, to have Rachmaninoff. Us in Canada, we should be proud to have André Mathieu.
Well, you're right. You're right. We have to be proud of our Canadian composers.
Absolutely.
But you are one of the Canadian composers as well. You write music. There's 3 recordings of your music out. How would you describe your voice as a composer?
Listen, it's very difficult. For me to compose, it's difficult because, I've been living with the great master all my life. So I'm very modest about what I do. The first CD I did of composition, I never thought it would have the success he had. Now today, as we're talking, the composer side of Alain Lefevre is becoming important. Pianists play my music in Korea, in China, and I'm surprised all the time. Composing for me is like an evasion. It's like a kind of an exorcism of the life of the pianist. So I go with no pretensions, and I propose to public nothing more than my heart, inspiration that I have every day.
All right. Well, I'm speaking with Alain Lefevre, pianist, composer. Let's listen to one of your pieces. I have lined up a piece called Rive Gauche.
Yes.
Okay, it sounds like there might be a story behind that.
Yes, of course, because, I was a very poor student in Paris. I was there, and boy, I didn't have enough even to eat, And one day, you know, Paris can be a very sad city. People say, oh, Paris is beautiful, blah, 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 blah. But it's like yesterday, you know, when I came to Winnipeg, it was so beautiful. The sun, the river, the big bird everywhere. I was the most happy guy. So one day I'm waking up in Paris after 2-3 months of harsh winter, you know, gray weather. And it was sunny. And I was walking on the Rive Gauche, the famous left bank. And that song start there, and it took me 15 years to finish it, and finally this is Rive Gauche.
Alain Lefevre playing music he wrote that was called Rive Gauche, the left bank, music inspired by Paris, and Alain Lefevre joins me in studio. That was just so delightful. I just had this image of, you know, walking along the Seine in Paris on a sunny day, as
and
you
know,
described.
as I say, it's very strange because, you know, I did the first CD of composition was Lailatov. Then I did Carnet de Notes. Then I did Fidèles Insomnies. I did Jardin d'Images. Then it was Rive Gauche. And normally it takes me 2 years to write a new CD. And now I'm going to do another one that will be released in September. So, but the thing is, I never compose to prove something. I compose because I love that. I love that kind of music. I think that music is beautiful. You know, this one reminds me a little bit of Yves Montand, à bicyclette, you know. So no pretentious, just trying to make some not too bad music.
Oh, no. It's just so enjoyable and, you know, just puts a smile on your face.
Yes.
And I'm sure there will be smiles in the audience on Friday and Saturday as you perform with the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra, Rachmaninoff's 4th concerto. But you are doing a not-so-usual version of the concerto, the original 1926.
Yes, it's a fascinating story. You know, Rachmaninoff, and I'm very, very excited to do that with Winnipeg and Alexander, that is a good friend and a wonderful conductor. Rachmaninoff do his last piano concerto. Mm-hmm. He's asking his friend Stokowski to do the premiere in 26. They go on stage, and it's so difficult for the orchestra and the piano. It's not the usual Rachmaninoff piano concerto. Rachmaninoff wants to be more modern. It's a mix with the orchestra that demands so much. And the challenge for the conductor, for the orchestra, for the pianist is that Stokowski go out of the stage and say to Rachmaninoff, you will cut this concerto, it's too difficult. And then Rachmaninoff did another version for 1929 that was still too difficult. Oh. So the version people know is the 1941 version. You know, like we could find this version with Michelangelo. And the 1941 version is a okay version. But the real number 4, the real piano concerto, people are going to listen in Winnipeg. And I believe, honestly, I think it's a world premiere for Winnipeg to listen to this piano concerto. And I think, I touch wood, hope, ask God that I will be not too bad. I think that for the public, it's going to be an exciting performance because first, I know this morning we will have a rehearsal. I will see the orchestra with Ron Hayes, and they will go. It's tremendously fascinating and difficult.
All right. So they're performing the much more difficult version.
Oh, yes.
Difficult for orchestra. What about for piano?
It's all the piano concerto of Rachmaninoff are terrible. So we agree. But you know, Rachmaninoff piano concerto is the big soloist and the orchestra.
Right.
Now, this piano concerto that people are going to listen the Friday and Saturday night is really a symphony with orchestra and piano. Okay. The conductor we have to be together all the time. I believe for the public, you know or you don't know music, public will be so excited to see this. And you know what is exciting? It's when I did propose that to Kent Nagano and the MSO, they say they jump on it because, you know, there has been one CD of this version with Ashkenazi and Gindin, but finally they were not very happy. So actually right now on the market, there's just one recording of this original version of Piano Concerto Number 4, 1926. And is the one I did with Kent and the MSO.
All right. Okay. Well, Winnipeggers, we've got something fantastic in store, and we're looking forward to hearing
knock.
It'll be great. I'm sure it will. And I really appreciate you coming down to our studio.
An honor and a joy to be interviewed by you. Thank you so much. I'm so. I know maybe I don't. I'm so grateful for the person who think of doing a radio station classical in Winnipeg. I think this could make me cry because I believe so much in classical music.
Well, it certainly comes through
Thank you.
in your passion for the music, and we are very lucky here in Winnipeg, that's true, to have Classic 107. So you're performing with the Symphony, Rachmaninoff, Friday night and Saturday night,
Yes.
and we'll look forward to that. And right now we're going to go out listening to you play some Chopin, and here's a Prelude number 3.